When a sports utility wagon has the sufficient off-roading aptitude to achieve beyond the point where few owners could dare go, there is no justification not to get involved in the adventure. And Ford has got us the all-new Everest Hybrid. But before making any rash decision, you need to watch the whole video to come to any conclusion. If you want to go further with this new variant, let's talk about this new model only on Tech Addicts. Let's get the car rolling. The newest Ford Everest spent the second half of its media debut day mired in muck. This is a friendly reminder that there is value in tradition. In that regard, body-on-frame construction is becoming obsolete, and this 7-seater SUV is now in the minority. However, it is more modern than most of its kind since it borrows the newest platform, powertrains, technology, and safety credentials from the Kiwi-favorite Ranger Ute. So it's entirely another vintage. The prior generation of Everest was already successful in terms of off-road aid technology. This one goes even further, especially when presented in V6 style. The traction control system features a dedicated muck mode, and the terrain response elevates to more specialized adventure driving management that takes care of things like diff locking and low range, among other things. Conditions are slimy and boggy, as you could possibly imagine, greeted participants of the bash through the brush that took place at a private venue outside Brisbane. There was no guarantee that we would be successful with road tires. The rain that had fallen in advance had rendered the muddy areas even muddier. The mud ruts mode worked wonderfully, crashing over camber ruts and hitting a steep clay squeeze, both upwards and downwards, was a breeze. So was schlepping through a torrent and stretches of black ooze. Encouragingly, the flagship Platinum, which has wheels that are 21 inches in diameter and tires that appear to be inappropriate for off-roading, was just as much a Hillary hero as the variations that have more practical tires. Talking about driving experience, although the Australian-developed T6 platform that has been the foundation of their four-wheel drive since 2011 symbolizes good bones, the old Everest tended to be a little bit heavy-footed. A program that had us initially avoiding traffic congestion by threading our way through narrow suburban streets gave us the impression that the new is a more well-rounded offering. After breaking out into the countryside, the program took us on a combination of winding hill country roads and some motorways. The best-selling pickup truck on the market is indeed the one that comes to mind when thinking about dynamic behaviors. As was the case before, the mass is felt when asking the vehicle to bend into tighter corners, and on some roads that were more winding and narrow, it began to feel like it was oversized. Despite this, it gives the sense of being more squarely placed and of being less hefty and roly-poly than other structures of a comparable construct. The fact that the height of the steering wheel can finally be adjusted in addition to the reach makes it far easier for the driver to find a comfortable posture. Although the basic components of a live rear axle with a Watts linkage, a ladder chassis, and independent front suspension are maintained, the wheel track and wheelbase have been increased, and the front differential has been moved forward. These changes are made in conjunction with Ranger. The effect of small adjustments was favorable, despite the anticipated high cost of those improvements. In general, it is more involved, yet the mood is mostly peaceful throughout it. The steering is precise and communicative, the braking system is reliable, and the ride quality is really pretty outstanding, even in the Sport Edition, which is noticeably harsher than the standard model. After the 3.2-liter 5-cylinder engine was taken out of production, it is wonderful that the lineup will continue with the well-known 2.0-liter sequentially turbocharged diesel. This engine was the only option available in the previous line. The 4-cylinder engine continues to be a faithful companion, despite its outputs increasing to 154 kilowatts at 3,750 RPM and 500 Newton meters at 1,750 to 2,000 RPM, included with the starting price of $71,990. Given that the current model is now a little cheaper than its predecessor, the trend is a fantastic buying opportunity. Even though it is the reason why the $79,490 Sport and the $84,990 Tree Topper, which was formerly known as Titanium and is now labeled Platinum, hold a $4,500 premium over prior equivalents, it will be an easy sale regardless because of the demand for the V6. In addition to the fact that it is a more suitable powertrain for a vehicle of this size, the fact that it has a V6 logo can earn you praise at the boat ramp and while dropping the kids off at school. Essential selling points include increased power and torque, which come in at 184 kilowatts at 3,250 RPM and 600 Newton meters between 1,750 and 2,250 RPM, respectively. But the fact that it is also smoother, quieter, and in a partnership that is even more stable with the single 10-speed automatic transmission choice also helps. Although you have to pay a higher CO2 tax, the increase in fuel use is only somewhat more. If diesel can idle through ruts that are deep enough to break your ankle without requiring any throttle input, you know it's something unique. When traveling 62 miles per hour, the tachometer barely registers 1,000 revolutions per minute. With the addition of Ford's towing package, the optimal braked rating for towing has increased from 400 kilograms to 3,500 kilograms, which should suit it well for towing. This places it on par with the Isuzu MU-X and the Mazda BT50, putting it in front of the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, as well as the Toyota Fortuner and the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Due to the remarkable refinement, even when nothing is hooked behind it, you do not get the impression that it is being wasted. This is an astounding response. It is so smooth and so silent. In the context of the family, because of the construction, the entire vehicle is elevated, and even if there is ample space inside, the floor is raised more than it would be in an SUV developed from a car. This affects the sitting positions as well as the amount of headroom available. Both are acceptable, but the unibody model is significantly airier than this. The maximum number of passengers on board during the launch was 3 adults. Because they had far more luggage than deemed necessary, all of the trunk space was taken up by bags, although there was no time to unpack and inspect the rearmost seats, which fold up out of the way when they are not in use. Ford claims it has enhanced access to the third row, although the rear seat remains a designated child seating area. The gleaming appearance of the engine is likely what prompted the design team to give this horse a more sophisticated appearance. It is evident that the only part of the exterior that resembles a Ranger is the front. Still, the interior has a greater resemblance in that the dashboard, instrument cluster, center console, and gear selector are all the same. Even in its most basic version, Everest can be considered a luxury product, although, to be fair, it is designed more with regular families in mind than with royalty. Despite this, it is simple to see the rationale behind Ford's decision to offer the ambiance in the local market rather than the trend, given that the trend ranks lower on the other side of the Tasman. The entry option made by the neighbor runs the risk of being too functional for the preferences of the marketeer, notwithstanding how appetizing it would have been to have a version in the $60,000 zone. Although the attempt with the V6 is to incorporate a higher quality of soft touch trim across the dash and door tops is appreciated, the complex plastics and quality of the carpet suggest that Ford is taking precautions for muddy gumboots. In addition, of course, it has a large infotainment screen and a fully LCD dash to wow. The diameter of the portrait infotainment displays can range anywhere from 10.1 to 12 inches, depending on the model grade, but the display quality is excellent no matter what size it is. It is not the only competitor to offer a touchscreen, but in terms of aesthetics alone, Ford's is the one that sets the bar highest. Its usability is also satisfactory, with the native systems generally working competently as CarPlay, though the navigation's voice control doesn't have the best vocabulary coverage. Each and every Everest comes standard with a digital instrument cluster of 8 inches and an infotainment screen measuring 12 inches. In addition, this vehicle has leather seats, wireless phone charging, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto mirroring, and climate control divided into 2 zones. All of the models come standard with an extensive array of cutting-edge safety technology, which includes not just 9 airbags, but also collision avoidance systems like blind zone warning and rear cross-traffic alert. So let's see if Ford has a better idea. We will be right back with more such videos. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.